This is Steve Ridgel, and where I go to church at Hillcrest Church of Christ in Abilene, I'm on staff there as their local evangelist, and we're reaching a lot of people who society would see as a little bit on the fringe. People who have just got out of prison, people who have lived on the streets, people who have really messed their life up, maybe haven't paid for huge consequences with society, but have broken relationships and addictions and really struggle. We have a lot of people that come to us because somebody talked to them about Jesus and they said, I would love to change my life. And so as we do that, people sometimes will say, so what are the problems you deal with and how do you handle it? And if we're not careful, we focus on the wrong things because sometimes the immediate drowns out the urgent. Now, before I say what I'm going to say next, I want to be real clear. There are a lot of sociologists who are Christians who have studied this much more than I have. There are people who are way smarter about all of this than I am. I'm just going to tell you kind of the philosophy I've adopted personally, and so it kind of ripples through a lot of our people that work in this. But the fundamental, absolute, basic need for every one of the people on the edge, on the fringe, the people who want to change their life, and for every one of us is Jesus. We never lose sight of the fact that Jesus is the most important thing. You do not fix their problems by giving them something that's a temporary fix or helping them get some life coping skills. That doesn't solve the problem. The problem with man is always sin, and Jesus is the only answer for that. And so personally, I'm happy to help people, but I'm not going to spend hours and hours and hours working with someone if I don't get a chance to share Jesus. I'm just not, because I really am not helping them if I don't. But second to that, we're finding a lot out with a lot of people as they talk about Jesus or as they become Christians. They need some fundamental help in some life skills. We have people that don't know how to do a budget. People don't know how to do an interview for a job. We have a lot of people that would love to be a good Christian dad, and they have no idea how to be a good father or a good wife or whatever it is. They just don't. They don't even know how to be a good friend. They don't know how to do church. There's so many things that they have to be coached on, and we're happy to do that, but we never lose sight of the fact that none of that's going to matter if you don't have Jesus, and none of those things really last without Jesus. And then finally, there is a top level that I think is kind of the superficial level, but it matters. Sometimes there are people with immediate, urgent needs. We find people who need housing right now. We find people who need food right now. We find people in child care crisis right now. People in addiction crisis right now. And they have to deal with those things immediately. And so we will do that. We help people with that, and we'll try to give them life coping skills, but ultimately, we believe the foundation to everything is Jesus. It is always Jesus. The most important thing we have to share in this world is Jesus. And so we may start with the top level of some things that are urgent, and then we may work on some life coping skills, but ultimately the goal in all this is to share Jesus. And if they don't want Jesus, well, we'll hand them off to a social agency, somewhere to get some other help. Now somebody says, well, you ought to love people, and we do love people. I do love people. But I'm going to invest my time in talking to people about Jesus. I'm not going to invest all my time in trying to give people a better life here if they're not interested in a better life forever. I just don't think Jesus died so we can have people do better here. He died so people would have their sins forgiven and be united with God forever. And that does have implications on what we do here. But we always try to never lose sight of the main thing. The main thing is Jesus. And we try really hard not to let the urgent overwhelm the important. So for us, it's Jesus. And then it's life skills, how you live as a disciple in this world. And then on that top superficial level sometimes are the things that to them start out critical. And so if we help them here, we want to move that down to here. So I don't know if that makes any sense. That's just some things we've thought about and we talk about and we pray about an awful lot here.